everyone. I'm Lauren Washington, the co-founder of Funder, and welcome to Behind the AI. Today, I'm so excited to have Ivy Michelle of Evrmore, one of our portfolio companies here, to talk a little bit about what she's building, what her vision is for the future. Thanks for joining us, Ivy.
Thanks for having me. Hi, Lauren.
Hi. So where are you calling from?
I'm based in the financial district in Manhattan, so I'm a New Yorker throughout this whole isolation period. Great time to build a startup, I have to say.
Oh, yes, it definitely is. I'm from New York as well. I'm here in Austin, but I miss my monthly trips up there to the city, even though I'm sure it's a little bit different, but definitely understand the love of New York. So tell me, Ivy, about your pitches. So I know as a founder, I'm sure you give probably a pitch a day. We're just constantly out here selling our companies and telling people about how great they are. So tell me about what your favorite version of a pitch is for your company.
Yeah, I like that question a lot because I feel like we all have like 300 different versions of pitches, but the one that you most connect with, that's the one you tell over and over again when you know you don't have to slightly tweak it, right? My favorite version is Evermore is essentially what happens when you make Siri and Alexa highly empathetic and intelligent and actually make them into great listeners. So Evermore is a smart journal that young people talk to. They use it like a sounding board that allows them to essentially tell their own story without chatbots and algorithms hijacking their narrative. And the whole ultimate goal of that is it's through this act of self-authoring that we're able to empower people to make these creative and very essential self-discoveries that none of the social media platforms are really kind of built for that. And obviously, as we all know, the more we kind of put our daily lives and daily selves out there, the more it is actually not conducive for growth and learning, right?
Absolutely. And I love that. I think this year, especially, mental health is so important, especially for the youth. So you started this obviously before this year. So tell us, why did you start this? What made you want to build Evrmore?
I am a nerd through and through. But if I were to rank myself on like what's my number one nerd, my number one nerd is everything about psychology and the mind. I had amazing teachers that I'm always grateful. I count my blessings every day that I've crossed paths with them, who have taught me that. And it's obviously we all kind of have an inkling, right? So when you hear people speak your truth, you tend to not you hold on to those people. So these are my teachers who have taught me. They're all highly esteemed, Western trained PhDs in neuroscience and psychotherapy. And I have learned in the past 6-7 years that you know what we tend to compartmentalize when we think about science, right? You have a branch of science for the mind, you have a branch of science for the brain and the heart, and at the end of the day, they are very intangible but definitely quantifiable things that we can start to measure when we put the mind, heart, and the brain, and especially body and speech together. And the reason why I started building Evrmore is I actually had to grow up very fast as a kid. I came to the States when I was really young. And that is just like a world of new things, right? New schools, new friends, new language. I can't tell you the amount of cartoons I've watched to try to pick up a new language. And definitely helped. And sing a lot of 90s pop songs, of course.
Right. Yes, of course.
um, and I think it's in that sort of, vacuum, that rapid, uh, almost kind of like a forced change, which is really no different than all of the kids of, immigrants and no, all of the young people who are coming to the States or being dropped into a new environment, right? That mental mind state is actually really conducive for growth, but it's also similarly, it's like two sides of the same coin. It could be disastrous for growth and development. So I thought of, I have no idea how I was actually able to have become well adjusted as an adult. But, it actually meant all of these micro moments and micro interactions that you're having daily, and all of the things that you tell others, but especially it's the stories that change your life the most are the stories that you tell yourself repeatedly,
That. I
right?
absolutely love that.
Yeah, so Evrmore is that tool that you can start to tell your own truths without it being, again, at jeopardy of you not being truthful to yourself or not being truthful to others. And when I say truth, I don't mean factual, I mean what really resonates with you deep down, right? Because that's where most things need to be coming from, or else, you end up having an identity crisis.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I think that's so powerful. And the fact that you are obviously at a point where you're really successful, you're this incredible founder, you have mastered the language that you were trying to work on, and you're now giving it back to people. Those are always the best businesses that are born out of your own experiences, and particularly ones that make such a huge impact on the next generation. So I think that's so incredible. And would love to understand as well, like, what is your larger vision for this? So where do you see Evrmore going? What is the impact do you want it to make on the world?
Yeah, I always am speaking of like my favorite version of pitches, right? And always we're fielding different questions. And a lot of times when people say, "Wow, you're using AI, you're trying to make AI empathetic. How do you do that?" A lot of times when people say put empathy in machine learning or empathy and AI together, they, for some reason, they're primed. Our brains are just primed because of all the sci-fi movies we watch. They're like, oh, is it kind of like a machine that will talk back to you, and that machine is very empathetic? I'm like, it's kind of like that, but when we talk about the quality of empathy, and if you put that quality of empathy in an algorithm, that means that interaction with the user is always very much, I want to say, um, not leaning one way or another. It has no agenda. Its objective function is to just be a good listener, right? Like what I mentioned earlier. Empathy is really the quality of, you're essentially creating this very sacred space where you're open. So the machine learning and the algorithm is open to hear what the user has to say and contain that environment, protect it in a way that allows the person. And Evrmore is a tool that you speak to. So as you're journaling using voice journals in Evrmore, the container is one that lets you thrive in telling your own stories, right? So it's never going to be like leading the witness and be like, oh, you sound sad, you must be depressed. Right? So in that sense, I think when I tell people what's the ultimate vision for Evermore is, can we start to make technology that brings betterment, but more importantly, can we make algorithms or any kind of machine human interactions more empathetic?
I
That's
absolutely.
the ultimate goal.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so revolutionary because a lot of the products out there are exactly what you said. It's you put in I'm sad or I don't feel happy today and then there's some response to it, but really the listening piece is what most people need, right? Listening to my story, understanding me and giving me that path forward. And so since you're building this whole tool around listening, who do you go to as a founder when you're having a hard day or when you need help or support or just even excited about something? Like, who is your founder hotline that you reach out to and is your go-to person?
I love that question, because since Evrmore is not, I don't have a version of Evrmore just for myself yet. My go-to right now, it's funny, ironic, but there's a lot of truth and warmth in the irony is I have a circle of tech founders who are also building AI companies. And, we basically have a support group. Actually, in half an hour, I'm jumping on a call with my very good friend based out in San Diego. Hi, Dan, giving you a shout out. He's building AI marketplace called Gravity AI. And every week we get on the phone. We just talk about, what worked, what didn't work, like a mental health hour. Sometimes it goes a little longer, but we try to not talk shop. But of course, founders being founders, we're going to. But it's really just a check-in because, again, while Evrmore is about mental health, and I feel like, especially the crazy 2020 that has been, being comfortable enough to kind of shed, just like unload and process with someone who is zero judgment, right? Like that good listener, like Evrmore, it's so important. He and a bunch of others, and I feel like right now I'm actually also doing that with you.
Absolutely. I think you're so right. It's that founder to founder connection that is so important, that will keep you going. Someone who understands the ups and downs of the founder life is what pulls you through and helps you be successful. And so for those who aren't founders or looking to become founders or just love the window into the founder life, what do you like most about it? What is the thing that excites you the most about being a founder?
Well, you're breathing and living this every day. To say that it's your baby or it's your creation, it's an understatement. You're essentially kind of in an ever evolving, iterating thing that is sort of an extension of you, right? Most founders are creating things that they actually believe in. I hope so. And that connection is very powerful. It means that, and I'm not bragging about this, we're all going to have, May days and, just not so shiny days. But I have to say, like, the fire that I feel in my belly when I wake up in the morning, without, right before the anxiety kicks in of all the 10,000 things you have to do, is that feeling of possibilities, limitlessness. And I think, I don't have one single word for it, but I think you know exactly what I mean.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that is so beautifully put, that it's an extension of you, and the possibilities and opportunities that you can create with a business are really what gets you excited and gets you up in the morning. So I will end with that on that beautiful note. So tell us, Ivy, where can they find out more about Evrmore? Where can they find you and find Evrmore and join your product?
Yeah, we're at Evrmore with just one E, so evrmore.io. And we're also super active in all of the different founder, co-working, co-networking, co-foundering, all of the co-things, essentially. But definitely look out for, the upcoming launch of the portfolio as we kind of connect the entire cohort together. And there's a lot of exciting things down the roadmap. So with the app, it's really one of many things to come. And I'm very excited to share all that progress with y'all.
Absolutely. Sounds great. So make sure you check out Ivy and Evrmore. You can also invest in Evrmore on Funder's platform. The portfolio is open now, so make sure you get in before this opportunity passes, and join us next time on Behind the AI. Thanks, everyone, and thanks, Ivy.
Thanks, Lauren.
Keep it going.